So let's talk about stimulus, and specifically the amount of stimulus that the American people are about to receive. Because over the past handful of days, actually Friday afternoon, when most people were leaving the office, when most people were going home, shutting off all the news, well, something broke. And that is that we are now going to see Freddie Mac allow secondary mortgages. This is something that I talked about and we mentioned over a month ago. Well, now it's actually happening, but there's a cap on how much this is going to introduce into the US economy. So I'm going to break all this down in just a moment, but the big news here is yes, we are about to see a little bit of additional stimulus. However, it's not as big as many people were expecting, and it's not even close to the $10 trillion that many experts were worried about. So I'm going to break all this down in just a moment, but all I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates, and now let's begin. So it has finally happened. The US has approved the Freddie Mac pilot program to buy second mortgages. It says proposal could help households pull equity from their homes, and US households have $32 trillion in real estate equity. That's a lot. And experts believed that regulators were going to allow Freddie Mac to buy as much as $10 trillion. Here's what you need to understand. It is far from that. That is good news, but it's also bad news to some. And I'll explain why in just a second. But the biggest thing that you need to take away from this is Freddie Mac is now getting into the secondary mortgage market. This now will make it easier in the event that you want to take out a secondary mortgage. Let's read a little bit of this article. It says, U.S. regulators have authorized a pilot program for housing giant Freddie Mac to buy second mortgages. It says, the Federal Housing Finance Agency, this is the FHFA, said in a statement Friday that Freddie Mac could buy as much as $2.5 billion of the mortgages over the 18-month trial period. This is a huge, huge letdown for millions of people. Okay? It's $2.5 billion. That's it. Just $2.5 billion. And it's only going to go on for an 18-month trial period. Let's keep reading. It says the regulator will then evaluate the program to see if it has benefited borrowers in rural and underserved communities, among other criteria. It goes on to say Freddie Mac in April proposed backing second mortgages after the steep jump in home loan rates over the past 2 years. Now, I've heard from many of you over the past year or so, and everyone's saying, well, I could pay off my credit cards, I could pay off my car, but all the equity, all the money that I have, my net worth is tied up in real estate, tied up in my home. That's it, and I can't pull from it because the loan, the interest rate is going to be too much, and it would be more harmful than beneficiary. Well, that's exactly what Freddie Mac has been saying. That's why they're jumping into this market. Well, I want to show you something else though, okay? Because this is what I think is very interesting. Look at this. It says, we did expect the program to be rolled out with numerous restricted parameters, as well as mentioned frequently in the comments received by the FHFA. It says, but limiting the overall size to just $2.5 billion was surprisingly small. Why is it only $2.5 billion when we have $32 trillion in equity? Can anybody answer that question? Well, I can. It's because of what happened back in 2008. When we saw the last housing crisis, that big crash where everything just crippled, the economy struggled for years, and it took us many years just to get back to where we once were. Well, that's what U.S. regulators don't want to have happen. They don't want to let everybody go and pull equity out of their homes, and then they're potentially upside down on their home if values drop. And so what they're trying to do is minimize that. And one of the ways they're doing that is by limiting the amount of money you can actually pull from your home. Just listen to this. It says Sandra Thompson, The FHFA director said in a statement that capping the program at $2.5 billion will mitigate the risk of its boosting inflation and requiring that Freddie Mac buy loans of $78,277 or less would ensure that government-backed enterprise stays focused on borrowers who may be underserved, such as rural and low-income homeowners, rather than high-income borrowers that may be better served by private lenders. Big news there is if you have, let's say, a home loan that has $100,000 on it, but yet the value of your home is, $1 million, they're not going to let you tap into, the whole $900,000 of that. Technically, they're only going to give you at max 80% of your home's loan to value. But here's the big thing. If you have only $100,000, that's your mortgage, that's the remaining balance, but yet you have $1 million home, all you're going to be able to get, and this is where they're capping the stimulus, is at $78,277. That's huge. Because again, like it just said in this statement, that they're going to focus on borrowers who may be underserved, such as rural and low-income homeowners. Not the rich people that have a very low mortgage, but yet they have a $10 million home. And this is where things get interesting, because this is just the beginning. And again, the reason why all this is happening is because people want to pull money out of their homes, pull the equity out to go pay off credit cards and student loans and medical expenses and possibly car payments. But yet they can't because the interest rate on a secondary mortgage would be too much. That's why Freddie Mac is jumping in. But the last thing I want to tell you is this is the beginning. This is where things start, because they're going to let Freddie Mac get introduced to the second mortgage market with $2.5 billion. They're going to give them a little bit of a taste, and then within 18 months, because my guess is people will blow through this, they will rack up that $2.5 billion in secondary mortgages in a hurry. When they do this, here's what I'm guessing. They will open up the doors to more people. They will see how lucrative it could be. They will see how many people are in need of this money, and they're going to open it up. So it's going to start at $2.5 billion. My guess is they're going to probably 10x this, if not more. So we may see it go to $25 billion. We may see this go to $100 billion. Again, keep in mind, there's $32 trillion in home equity right now that's locked up. But if we can unlock that with a special tool like what Freddie Mac is doing, well, it could be good news for the U.S. economy and millions of Americans. So we'll see what happens moving forward. The one thing I can tell you is that I was a little bit skeptical about this program initially because experts were coming out saying that we could see $1 trillion come and just enter the U.S. economy within days. But with them actually putting a $2.5 billion cap on this and capping it at $78,277 per borrower, that right there is going to limit what it does to the economy. It's going to limit the amount of inflation we see. And this right there is good news. So we'll see what happens moving forward. Like always, the one thing I can promise you is I will be here every step of the way, and I'll fill you in on all the latest news and updates. But as of today, that is what we know. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.